Hello, friends. All right, so I'm going to give people a few minutes here to get here. This is different than what I'm usually doing when I'm live on my channel. This is my January-February wrap-up. So that's what this is. There's no sprints. I don't have sprints right now. This is just my January-February wrap-up. So that's what this is. And I have included podcasts. I didn't really watch anything outside of YouTube this month. Or the last couple of months. I didn't watch like a ton of shows and stuff. But I have a couple of shows, I think, that I did watch. So we're going to go through those as well, since that was suggested the last time that I did a live wrap up. People really wanted things I watched and listened to. So that's where we're at. Hello, Skylar. How are you? All right, so I'm just going to give... Also, if you can hear my TV in the background, I'm sorry. Ari's watching a movie. It's fine. Sit down and eat. So that just, that just is what it is at this point. Let me know in the comments. Hello, Kelsey. Yeah, I will be going over if Amy is still sprinting after this live, then I'm going over there to be on camera too. So, what are you doing?
I want to say hi.
Let me know how you guys did reading wise this month or the last 2 months. So I am personally only doing wrap ups and TBRs every 2 months. That's just easier for me. My light is being dumb. There we go. That's just easier for me. It's less overwhelming, if I'm gonna be honest. So total I read, I don't even know how many books, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm actually going to pull up Storygraph because that's going to be a little bit easier. It's okay. When it comes back on, I'll turn it back on. I haven't used Peacock in a while, so. So according to Storygraph, I read 12 books in January and 14 books in February. So 26 books in total. Hello. How are you? Good. Just ate dinner. Glad to be here. Yes, I have dinner sitting over here. I was eating shortly before getting on live. So there's that. Yeah, so I read 26 books in total over the last 2 months. And I think that's pretty good, if you look at my Storygraph right now, it is going to show 27 books, but that is because I've read one book in March.
Can I watch Spy Kids?
Fine, sit down.
So that one?
Yes, sit down.
Yay! Spy Kids.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna start. And if people come, they come. I don't have physical books for all of these simply because I read a lot of Kindle Unlimited books. So there's that. Do you guys want to see the physical books? Is the question. Let me know in the comments if you want to see them. I will go grab them really quick. Yeah, if you want to see the books that I have physically, I will grab them off my shelf. I did not grab them just because I knew that I had so many that were that were not physical. So let me know and I will grab them off my shelf if you want to see them physically. Did great in January, read 17 books, only read 2 books in February, 1 graphic memoir and a graphic novel. Still great. Dancing at the Pity Party is a memoir and Through Maya's Eyes. Wonderful. Okay, so you do want to see them physically. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab the ones that I have physically off my shelf. Okay. Here they are. So, all right. So I technically also had 2 DNFs, but I only have 1 of the DNFs physically. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you need cough medicine? Do you need cough medicine?
It's my hat.
All right, sit down. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start here so that I don't have y'all here for forever, okay? I'm going to try to keep this at around an hour. Are you okay? Hello, Jean. Welcome. Okay, so I've had a couple more people jump on when I was up getting things. This is my January, February wrap up. That's what we're doing. I will say this: the shows and podcasts didn't really change between January and February, so I tend to be a creature of habit. So things that I started in January, I was still listening to or watching in February. So there is that. And yeah, so I'm trying to put these in order. I'm so sorry. So Legend Born was after. Okay, so I did a lot of ebooks and audiobooks, but some of these I do have physically. They're in the order that I read them. So let's begin, friends. Let's begin. All right, so the first book of the year that I read was Catherine House. This was the very first book. I left off. I got a couple questions about this. This was the first book of the year for me. A Man Called Uva was the last book of 2022. That's how that worked. I got a couple questions about that in DMs. So I read Catherine House with Bestie's Book Club. Obviously, this was our January book club pick. I gave this 4 stars. There is a live show for this on Reni's channel, I believe. So
I thought you were gonna get me orange.
I gave this 4 stars. I believe I was the highest rating. Maybe I don't quite remember. But there is a live show for this. I don't really know how to describe this book. It's dark academia, horror, thriller. That's really all that I know about this book. It's very convoluted to try to explain. So if you want like full explanation and spoilers, I would go check out that live show. I don't want to give any spoilers here at all. The next book that I read was Magic Lies and Deadly Pies. I listened to this via audio, and this was Pyramid Book Club, which is Lexi from Books with Lexi, Monica from A Little Bit of Monica, and Michelle from Michelle's Library. That's their book club that's on YouTube. This was, I think, their December pick, but they did the live show in January, so I ended up reading it right before the live show. I gave this book 4.5 stars. It is a cozy mystery about a woman who has power through her pies, so she basically makes pies to get rid of bad men, if that makes sense. It was very cute. There is some politics in it that personally didn't bother me, but if you're not a person who likes to read about politics, I guess it could be bothersome theoretically. For me, it just kind of enhanced it and added to it. The next book that I read was The Stay-at-Home Mother. This is by Nicole Trope, and this was an e-arc for the month of January. I got it off of NetGalley. This is a thriller about a family. So it's a wife, a husband, and their child, and then the wife is also pregnant with their second child. They move into a new house, and this is their journey of dealing with the neighbor across the street. This book had me gripped. I gave this 5 stars. I wasn't sure about it because I have been having some trouble with thrillers in the last few months, and not giving a bunch of them really a full 5 star. But in 2022, I was giving everything 5 stars. But the way that this book was written, I was afraid that I would be able to figure it out, and I'm not a person that tries to figure out thrillers. And then by the end, like the twist of it was not what I was personally expecting. So I gave that one 5 stars. The next book that I read was a buddy read with Brittany. Y'all know Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading.
Yes.
And we read Babel. Yes. Babel. There you go. As in, no. Babel. Yeah, as in Tower of Babel, right? Yes. Okay. So the title of the thriller, I see Skylar's comment, is The Stay-at-Home Mother. I guess I could hold my phone up and try to show you guys like what the book looks like. It looks like this. So I'll just put it in the comments here so that you guys can find it. I suppose I could have made banners. That would have been better, right? There you go. So I put it down in the comments. So The Stay-at-Home Mother was the one that I just talked about, the thriller that I just spoke about. The next one that we read was Babel. This is by R.F. Kuang. She also wrote the Poppy War series. I've not read that series yet. It is on my TBR for 2023. It was on my TBR for 2022 also. Will I get to it this year? I hope so, because I really want to read it. This is a big boy, okay? This is a thick book. This version of it is from a book of the month. And truthfully, I really enjoyed this book. This was my December pick for book of the month, and I really did like this book. I gave it 5 stars. I will say that I suggest listening to the audiobook with this one. I did a lot more audio with this one than I did physically reading it because I was doing other things at the same time. There are footnotes in this, which some people don't love. I was trying to find footnotes to like show you.
No.
Here we go. Okay, so like there are like footnotes in here, but there are two different authors, or two different narrators. So you have narrators who one narrator who reads most of the book, and then you have another narrator that reads the footnotes. And I really enjoyed that because then I didn't necessarily have to have this book sitting right in front of me the whole time. But yeah, I give this 5 stars. I will say this book is not going to be for everyone. It is supposed to be, it's called Babel and Arcane History. There is some like fantasy element to this, but it reads a lot like a textbook. I'll just be honest. So this book is pretty polarizing. You're either going to love it or hate it. So that was the next book. And like I said, I buddy read this with Brittany. The next, let me see here. I want to make sure that I'm saying this. Okay. The next book that I read was the first Zodiac Academy book. This one is called Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. This book was, I started by reading it on Kindle Unlimited and then moved to reading it on you know what, I'll just make a banner here so that you guys can see what I'm reading. So the next one was Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. So this one was also a buddy read. If I don't have it physically, I'm gonna pop a banner up so that you guys can see what the book is. I don't know why I didn't do that before starting. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. So Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. I'm reading the Zodiac Academy series with a big group of people on Instagram. How long did it take me to finish Babel? Let me check the dates for you and I can tell you. It took me about 8 days. So I started reading it on January the 4th and I finished it on January the 12th. So it took me about 8 days to read Babel, and that was with audio. So that was a book that I did read, like an immersion read of. So not terribly long. Hello, ML. Welcome. All right. So the next book, as I was saying, is yeah. It didn't take terribly long to read it, but I was really only concentrating on that book. I wasn't reading anything else. So that could be why as well. Zodiac Academy: The Awakening. I gave this book 5 stars. I started by reading it off of Kindle Unlimited as an ebook, and then I switched to the audio. I just got the audio off of Amazon or off of Audible. That's the only place that I could personally find it. It doesn't say that it's Audible exclusive, but I literally could not find it anywhere else. So that makes me believe that it was Audible exclusive. So I don't know. I don't know. This, I gave it 5 stars. I didn't know how I felt about it reading it on its own, like as an ebook, but listening to the audiobook, I really did enjoy it. You need to go into this particular series just expecting it to be what it is. It is not like the greatest literature ever written, but it is a fun time. So I will say that. I think you already know this, but I had to say it again. Yes, I know that ML absolutely loved Babel, and I'm so glad because I also loved it as well. All right, the next 3 books I'm going to put all together. So this is one series, but I read the entire series in just under a week. So you're welcome. You're welcome. So I read the next series in just under a week. This is the Witsec series. I'm sure everyone has heard me talking about this series. Let me just check this. I read 16 books over January and February. I did 7 books in January and 9 books in February. That is wonderful. That is so wonderful. This series, it is 3 books. The 4th book comes out August 31st, and I will be dropping absolutely everything to read the next book. But the 3 books in this series are Find Me, Save Me, and Love Me. Those are the 3 books that are currently out. I don't remember what the 4th book is called. I believe there's I believe we know what the title is, but I don't have it written down. So I'm sorry for that. This book follows Shiloh. She is in the WITSEC program, or the Witness Protection Program here in America. And she moves in, or her and her uncle move to a new place. There is something tragic that happens to her. I can't really tell you what that is because it's an integral part of the plot. But something traumatic happens to her. She gets put in the Witness Protection Program. Her and her uncle Logan, I believe his name is, move to this town in Arizona, I think. And her uncle has to leave for a mission. Because he's in like the FBI, and he leaves her there and basically tells her, don't tell anybody anything, blah, blah, blah. And she meets the neighbors, which are 4 brothers that live next door. So this is a reverse harem dark romance. The first book, because it's been a little while and I read them so quickly that everything kind of ran together. According to my friends that I coerced to read this series, which is Kelsey, Reni. Did Reni read it? I think she did. But I know Kelsey, Brittany, and Crystal already. I think Reni read it as well. And apparently there's really not a lot of smut in the first book. I don't remember this, but I was told later, they were like, what made you want to keep going? But every book leaves you on a cliffhanger. And when I say a cliffhanger, I do mean that it just says to be continued. So if you're going to read this, I would go into it knowing that straight out the gate, because wow. I gave this entire series 5 stars. My favorite brother book boyfriend is Knox. He's like the grumpy one of the 4. And I loved everything about this book. Please, though, with this, if you have triggers, I really am going to tell you to please read the trigger warnings. I personally read the trigger warnings and was okay with what was in there. But if you go into this one, are you okay? If you go into this one blind and you have triggers, it could be incredibly triggering to you. Do you need cough medicine? If you keep coughing like that, I'm giving you cough medicine. Hear me? Okay. So that was that's 3 books, but I counted all of them. I'm counting all of them in this wrap up together because I literally just read them back to back to back. So there's that. The next book that I read was, unfortunately, I don't have my physical copy sitting in front of me. Don't have it because I actually, while reading this book, accidentally left it at my best friend's house, but I also have the audio through Audible. This book is an Audible exclusive audiobook, so if you want to be able to do the audio, you're going to have to do it through Audible. But this is The Priory of the Orange Tree. This is also a pretty big book. This is over 24 hours long. It's 25 hours and 52 minutes, so almost 26 hours long. I gave this book 4.75. This was another buddy read with Brittany. I believe she gave it a 4 because she doesn't do like half stars like I do, which is fine. So this was a 4.75 read for me. There was only really one thing in the book that I didn't love, which I can't really share here because it is kind of a spoiler. But actually, Brittany and I were on the same page with the one thing that we didn't like as much. So that's why it got a 4.75 and not a full 5 stars, but it has dragons. It has talking dragons. Okay. And honestly, after reading it, nothing scares me at this point. After reading it in 2020, nothing really scares me or puts me off at this point, but it is a big book. This one, you could I mean, I listened honestly to most of it without having the physical book in front of me, and it's easy enough to follow. It's not a hard book, a hard fantasy book to follow. It seems right up my alley. Yes, ML, I honestly think that you would really love The Prior of the Orange Tree. Just because of the elements of it that are in there. I think honestly, even though it's a thick book, if someone asked me for a book that might help with that might introduce them to certain things, I would suggest this book. It is a big book, but it's for adults. It doesn't read YA. It definitely reads adult, but it is very easy to follow. It's not super hard to follow. I was listening to Eye of the World. I don't know if I can do another 20 plus hour, which is fair. That's fair. For me, I did it, and that book was, I mean, I did it last year, and that book was 48 hours, I think. So at this point, I'm just like, it's fine. It is what it is. Hello, E. Harris. Welcome. So, The Prior of the Orange Tree, I gave, like I said, 4.75 stars. I guess I should have said this at the beginning, but I personally do 0.25 stars. Because a lot of times if I'm not giving a full rating, I have that extra wiggle room, and then I can explain to myself or others why I gave it that rating. All right, the next book that I have is a Kindle Unlimited book again. This is Praise by Sarah Kate. This is the first book in the Salacious Players Club. Reni actually read this one first, and now we're trying to set up buddy reads for the rest of the series. I gave this book 5 stars. This book follows, I don't remember who, so please hold while I look. I do not remember. I'm so sorry. I did not take good notes on this because I am not good at remembering names. I know that the main male character, his name is Emerson. I do know that. I tend to remember the book boyfriends and not so much the female MCs. Just because, not because like I don't care about them, but just simply because like, unless it's gay, like I don't usually have a huge connection to the female MCs if I'm going to be really, really honest about it. So, yeah, so we follow Emerson. This is an ex-boyfriend's dad romance, which after reading Birthday Girl, I absolutely love, to be honest with you. But Emerson and I believe it's four or five of his friends. I think it's 4. Because there's a female named Maggie, and then there's like 2 or 3 other men. But anyway, him and a group of his associates, friends, whatever, run the Salacious Players Club, which is a kink club. And he the female MC goes to him to get something for his son. It's after her and the son have broken up, but it's to get something from his son, and he mistakes her for being a submissive because he hires women to come in and be submissive to him. That's just what he likes, right? And it kind of just expands from there. This is an age gap romance. I don't know. That bothers some people. When I say an age gap romance, if I'm saying age gap, there's at least 15 years between the two. There's around 20 years, I think, between them, 19 years. Because it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, because he's 40 and she's 21. So there's about a 19-year age gap. So again, you can read the trigger warnings on this. It's BDSM light. I will say that. Not getting into the rest of the books in that series. Yeah, I want to read the second book because I like the character that we follow. I liked him in the first book. but also I know that it's a stepbrother stepsister situation in the second book, so I don't know. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try the rest of the series. But I did love Praise. Are you okay?
Yeah.
But I will say that yeah, it's BDSM light. It definitely is that. So if BDSM is not your thing, I probably wouldn't do this, but it's not like hardcore. Follow the smoke line. It's not hardcore BDSM. There is talk of like there's a dominant submissive relationship between the two main characters. There's some, I don't remember if she gets tied up or not. There is some female female sexual acts that are done, but it's nothing like extreme, and it's like only in the club setting. I don't think I don't even think that they use like spanking or anything, because I think that's a thing that they talk about that they're not interested in. I think so. It is very much BDSM light. There's no like whips and chains or anything like that. Okay, so that was Praise, 5 stars. The next book that I read was Five Survive. Okay, so the next one that I read was Five Survive. I do not have the physical copy of this at the moment. I don't know where I put it. I own it, but I don't know where I put it. I did end up reading this during the 8-hour sprints that Brittany and Kelsey did, where they read Five Survive in 8 hours. I did end up doing this with them, and I did end up mostly keeping up. I fell behind at one point and then got caught up. So this is not the most recent Holly Jackson, because Holly Jackson actually just released a book earlier this week that goes with The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but this is her first standalone novel, and we are following 6 teenagers who are going on a cross-country trip for spring break, and they get stranded. Essentially 5 survive, baby. Like six leave, but only 5 come back. You know what I'm saying? This was a fun read. Fun? You sure? This was a quick read. I thought it was fun. I loved it. You know, I benefited from these readings from when Brittany and Kelsey hosted a reading of it all in one setting. Got a lot done. Yeah. Honestly, there were characters that you loved, characters that you liked, characters that you hated, and everybody had a secret. But I personally, Holly Jackson at this point, for me, is an auto by author. I will at least try anything that she comes out with. I've read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I'll talk more about this in my March wrap up, but I also just I read the novella called Killjoy that just came out. That's the prequel to Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Love it. I really do love her writing style and what she does with thrillers. So, and they are young adult, I will say that. So if you're not a young adult thriller person, I probably wouldn't suggest it, but I personally had such a great time. And Five Survive definitely is a book that is meant to be sat down and read all in one sitting. This technically was a reread for me. I read it in November of 2022 because I did receive the arc of it. However, I did not read it all in one sitting. So I enjoyed it a lot more this time around than I did the first time. I think the first time I gave it 4 stars, and that's purely my fault, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I really love this book. I gave it 5 stars. So the rating actually went up between this time and the first time that I read it. All right. The next book that I read, I did this solely through audio. I do not own this book yet. I will. This is the second Beartown book, Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. I read this book with Kelsey and I gave it 4 stars. This book is a 14-hour audio. I listened to it at 2 times speed, so I finished it in around half a day. It was quick because it's a filler book. I will say that. So there's 3 books in this series. There is Beartown, Us Against You, and then The Winners. I don't know when she and I will be reading The Winners, but Beartown, I did have a lot of feelings around that one. It did make me tear up. Not fully cry, but it did make me tear up. Us Against You, we were told by Brittany, who's already read the entire series, she has actually a vlog of her reading this series if you want to go watch that to see how she reacted. She did say that Us Against You, while it's necessary, it's not a book that's going to invoke great emotion. It didn't invoke great emotion. It was nice continuing to follow the characters, and you do need Us Against You in order to continue to The Winners, because otherwise things won't tie up. But I'm preparing myself for The Winners because I know that The Winners is the one that's going to punch me in the face, you know? So there's that. Yeah, there's that. So that was Us Against You. I gave it 4 stars. It was fine. It was fine. It did what we needed it to do for the series. All right, let me turn this banner off because now I can hold up a book again. The next book that I have is, so that was all of the books. Us Against You was the last book for January that I read. So we're moving now into my February books. And the first book of February that I read was The Assassin's Blade. I technically started this in January, but it crossed over into February. I just did not get it done. So this was The Assassin's Blade. We just did a live show for this last week. And we actually had Mr. Reading Waniva on the live show. He also read this book. So this is part of the Throne of Glass, the Bessie's Book Club Throne of Glass read along. And this book was fine. I gave it 4.5 stars. The only person to give this book a higher rating than me was Mr. Reading Waniva. He gave it 5 stars. So that's it. So this is just the bind up of the 5 novellas, the prequel novellas that lead into the Throne of Glass. We voted to read the books in chronological order and not publication order. That's why we read The Assassin's Blade first. And I really enjoyed the characters in this book. I really enjoyed this book as a whole. This is very shiny. I'm sorry, but I really did enjoy this book, and I cannot wait to continue this series. The next book that I have, unfortunately, again, I don't know what I did with Five Survive and Finley Donovan. Okay, I've put them down somewhere, and I don't know where I put them. So the next one, please hold. Okay, so the next one that I have is Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I am making a banner for that right now. I'm so sorry. Next month I will, or in April, I will make sure to have banners already made. This is ridiculous. So the next one that we read was Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. This was another group read. Nothing. This is another group read with the besties. So Kelsey, Reni, Brittany, and I all read this together about 3 or I think it was like 3 or 4 days after it was actually released. And we read Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I did do this via audio. Again, this was a 4-star book for me, kind of like Us Against You. It's a filler book, and I knew that not every book for this series was going to be 5 stars because there's supposed to be like 6 or 8 books coming out in this particular series. So I knew at some point we were just going to get filler books. I still loved being immersed into the world of Finley Donovan. This just wasn't like my favorite book of the series, and I gave the first 2 5 stars each, and then this one I gave 4 stars. It was still fine, and you need Finley Donovan jumps the gun to continue in the series. I don't know how you would read it without it, to be honest. So I did still enjoy this book. It just wasn't as great as the other two. Ollie Sally thinks it put them in a slump, not because it was a bad book, but it just wasn't as fun as the others. It was a letdown. Yeah. And I will say that I personally went into this book expecting it to not be as fun. I only say that because the first two were so fun and so action-packed that at some point it had to slow down a little bit, or she's not going to really have a lot of stuff to put into the subsequent books. You know what I mean? But I am sad for Ollie that it put them into a slump. Hopefully they can come out of that. But yeah, it definitely wasn't as fun as the others, but it was a good 4-star read, and I do feel like we need it to continue the rest of the series. Part of the Orange Tree I really loved when I read it. My son-in-law also enjoyed it. Once it really got going, I'm looking forward to the next book in the series when it comes out. I am also looking forward to this, and I believe Brittany and I will be reading this together with the sequel or the next book. I think actually the next book is supposed to be a prequel, but the next book when it comes out. So I'm super excited. Hello, AJ. Thank you. I will see you on Saturday. This is my GM at work. I love it so much. Okay, so the next book that I read was another what am I trying to say? Another arc. This is another arc from NetGalley, and that is No Home for Killers. I gave this a 5-star. This is a thriller that had me gripped from the first page. As far as the reading experience, if anyone else other than me, I read Blood Sugar last year as an arc also, and I actually need to buy that book to put on my shelf because it was so good. I give it 5 stars. That's what this book reminded me of, reading experience wise. This book follows 3 siblings, and the brother is murdered, and and the 2 sisters have to come back together after years of estrangement, and they have to figure out what happened to their brother. When I tell you, yes, ML, I need you to read this so we can talk about it, because when I tell you, I thought, so the way that the twist happens, by the time that the twist comes about, I was like, oh, it has to be this person. But the whole rest of the time, I couldn't have told you who it was. I maybe should have been able to figure it out, but I wasn't able to. Like, I didn't expect it to be who it was at the end. So it was so good. It was so good. What is the pub date? It should be out. Give me 1 second, ML. Yeah, the publishing date was February 1st. So it should be out. It is by E.A. Amar. Here, I'll put it. Yeah, it's out. It is out. I read this at the beginning of the month. I actually read it. I finished it after it was already published, because that's what happens to me with arcs. Yes, please read it. It was so good. Oh, tell them I love them so much. Oh my gosh. Everybody at work is watching this stream, and I love them so much. That's so great. So yes, No Home for Killers. Highly recommend this if you love like a twisty thriller and like a like messy family dynamics. I totally suggest this. Again, with the trigger warnings, there is some there are themes of DV, because or domestic violence. The older sister used to work with women that were leaving domestic violence situations. So there is talk of that, but I don't remember there being, well, I guess there's an ex-girlfriend of the brother who describes things that have happened. So you do get some flashbacks. So just be aware of that. But otherwise, I absolutely love this book, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read is actually some people are not going to care about this book because it is a nonfiction. So the next book that I read was Declutter Like a Mother, which is by Ali Kasaza. I have followed Ali Kasaza on Instagram for quite a long time. So when she came out with this book, I knew that I wanted to read it, but I'm not a nonfiction girly who reads physically nonfiction. I tend to just listen to the audio. This audio is available, or it was available. I'm pretty sure it still is. It was available on Scribd. So if you don't want to pay for it, outside of like a subscription service, I truly suggest reading this. I listened to it in just under 2 hours, but I was able to speed her up. She talks very fast. She talks like a Midwestern, so she talks very fast. But I was able to read this in about 2 hours. It's really just talking about how to make decluttering or minimalism work for you. That's what this book is about. So not everyone's gonna like it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought that the information that was given was really good. I plan on actually purchasing this book and listening to it again. She gives good advice on, like, she's a mom, so she gives a lot of advice around decluttering children's items and your own items to make your house happier and healthier. That's what the whole book is about. I gave it 5 stars. Not everyone is going to like this book. I'm gonna be honest, but it was a book that I read in the month. The next book for me is a reread, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This copy I actually got for my birthday, along with the second book, which I'm reading this month. And I got this from ML and Ollie for my birthday last year. And I don't know what to say about this book. I gave it 5 stars. Again, it was a reread so that I can read Bloodmarked. And Mr. Reading Waniva is currently reading this book as well. So he's like, actually, he started listening to it on his drive. He had a drive yesterday and he started listening to it. This book follows Bree. Something has happened to her. I don't know if it's in the synopsis. Okay, it is in the synopsis, so I can talk about it. So Bree is 16 years old and her mother dies in an accident, and this is the story of her trying to figure out what actually happened to her mom. This is a King Arthur and the Round Table retelling. A lot of our characters are black or people of color. I absolutely love this book. I will say this, because I got a call from Mr. Reading Waniva yesterday. I got a call from Mr. Reading Waniva, so I feel like I should warn anyone that's going to pick this book up. Bree is not a super likable character at the beginning of this book. If you keep in mind that she's 16 and her mother has just passed away, you might not like her a lot at the beginning, but you understand why she does the things that she does. I personally didn't love Bree at the beginning, but I understood what was happening in her brain. So to me, she wasn't a super unlikable character, but she was definitely. Are you okay? But she was definitely 16 and sort of annoying, you know? But I highly recommend this book. It's so good. This is YA. Are you okay? Do you need cough medicine? Are you all right? Take a drink. Are you okay? Yeah, allergies, I know it. I really love this book. 5 stars. It is a little bit big. You can listen to the audios via Scribd if that's a thing that you want to do. Otherwise, you can always buy the audios. At some point, I'm just gonna buy the audiobooks because are you all right? Because I just really enjoy Legendborn. I'm about to. Do you want a cough drop? All right, sit down and relax. But yes, I highly recommend this. This is YA. This is not middle grade. I've gotten a couple of questions about this because I tend to tell people if you're kind of delving into middle grade or YA fantasy, I suggest reading Amari and then reading this, especially if you're not a huge middle grade or YA reader. But this is truly YA. Like, I would give this to like Austin, but I would not read this to Ari right now at all. So that was Legendborn. Yes, Jean, please add Legendborn to your TBR. I absolutely love talking to people about Legendborn because I personally don't know anyone that's read it that didn't like it. I'm sure there's somebody out there that didn't like it, but the people I talked to about it, they've all really, really liked it. So, all right. The next book that I have is another one that I don't own. I found this book actually by accident on Libby, and it is called Dear Martin. This book is by Nick Stone. I believe this is her debut novel. There is a second book to this, which I ended up DNFing. So I guess I actually had 3 books that I DNF'd this month for some or not this month, but in the 2 months there were, well, all of them were this month actually. Yes. But there were, I guess in total there were 3 books I DNF'd. I only wrote down 1. I don't know why I did that, but anyhow, Dear Martin follows Justice, who is I think he's 16, but maybe he's 17, something. I don't know, but he is a teenager. He is a high schooler. Are you okay? Okay. Go blow your nose. All right, sorry. So Dear Martin follows Justice. He is a young Black teenager. He grew up in the projects, and he's very smart. So he ends up getting into a private school that is predominantly white, which is fine. Something tragic happens after he is arrested really for no reason by a cop, and he's held there until like his mom and his best friend's mom gets to the scene. So it's him grappling with what has happened to him, and then there is a tragedy that does happen that really makes him question everything. This book, so good. But he writes, the reason it's called Dear Martin is because as we're following Justice, he is writing letters to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and his motto throughout the book is "What would Martin do?" Because of he's given a school assignment by, I think, the only Black teacher that he has, who basically tells them to do this project where they write letters to Martin Luther King Jr. So good. I highly recommend this to anyone. I found it because it was part of a Black History Month book list, but I will always say to read Black books all year. Don't just read Black books during February, and don't just read LGBTQIA books during June. You know what I mean? So I highly recommend this book. Um, I gave it 5 stars. I laughed. I cried. I felt anger. I felt all the things. So I definitely recommend this book. I mean, I also go by What Would Jesus Do? But I got you, ML. I got you. That's okay, ML. It's okay. You know what I mean? Because I love everyone that's here. So whether you are an atheist or you love Jesus like I do, everyone is welcome. You know what I mean? We are all included in this space on the internet. So that's totally fine. The next book that I read was another audio, and it's a nonfiction. This is Finding Me by Viola Davis. I gave this book 5 stars, but let me explain. So I don't love to give ratings to people's stories. I tend to give. Do you need help? Here. I tend to give either 5 stars or no rating at all. So the way that I rate nonfiction memoirs, well, memoirs are always nonfiction, but the way that I rate memoirs personally is if the story meant something to me, I give it a 5 star. If I didn't really relate to the story at all, or I found that I didn't care, or I found that if I found that I didn't enjoy the book, then I just won't give it a rating at all. I will count it as a read book, but I just will say I don't give a rating. Yeah, eat it. Throw that away. I don't give a rating if I didn't enjoy the book simply because it's someone else's experience, and I would never want someone to to rate my. It's better than a cough drop. Do you want a cough drop instead? Okay, then go sit down. I'll start your movie. I would never want, if I wrote a memoir, I would never want someone to give my memoir a bad rating just because they didn't relate to my story. You know, this book, I personally love Viola Davis, and I knew that she had a hard life. Um, yeah, I know that she had a very hard life. If you don't know a lot about Viola Davis, I suggest researching her story a bit before reading this because this book could be triggering. It's kind of on this same trajectory for me, trigger wise, as Jeanette McCurdy's book. So and I read that last year. So if you've read Jeanette McCurdy's book, just know that Viola Davis's book is along the same vein but different because Viola Davis also dealt with racism, and there's a lot of use of the N-word in this book because she's telling her experience of people using that word against her. It is read by Viola Davis, though. So I got it off of Libby. I will be purchasing this book, I think, because I just loved it so much that I would like to have a physical copy of this book and also of Will, which I read in 2021, because I want to annotate it because there's just so many good pieces of information in this book. So highly recommend. ML, I really think that you would like this book as well, to be honest. Will you please sit down? But yes, ML, I highly recommend this book. I think that you would enjoy it, especially if you already like Viola Davis. I think you would enjoy it. Hello, Courtney. Skylar, I see your comment. I am gonna have her do this, but I have to do it after I'm not on camera anymore. Because she will probably fight me, if I'm gonna be honest. She doesn't love, that's why like I keep asking her if she wants cough medicine. She doesn't want cough medicine, so I'm making her suck on a hard candy to try to help. But yes, I do plan on doing something after this live is over, which we're getting towards the end now. But she will also fight me trying to do anything, so doing it while I'm on camera will not work. She will not do it on her own. So that was Finding Yours, 5 stars. The next book that I read was so this was technically given to me as an e-arc. I kind of hit a slump about halfway through February. Not even a slump. I hit a book hangover after I finished Finding Me. I just didn't connect with any other books. So Secretly Yours, I waited until it was released and then I was able to grab the audio off of Scribd. So Secretly Yours is the newest Tessa Bailey novel, and it is book 1 in the A Vine Mess series. I believe book 2 comes out in like April or May or June, something. It comes out later in the year. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I have a problem with the miscommunication trope, and that is in this book. But I really did love the story between our two main characters. So that is why it got 4.5 stars for me. We are following Hallie, I believe is how you say her name. So we are following Hallie, and she has had a crush on Julian since they were children. I believe he was like 18 and she was 16, or he was 17 and she was 14, something. They were both in high school, and he was almost her first kiss. Now, Hallie is like 25, I think, in this book, and she's still a virgin because she's been holding out for Julian. That didn't really bother me. That's fine. It did bother me, though, the miscommunication, because I felt like the miscommunication in this book was a bit unnecessary, gonna be honest. This one, and actually the next book that I'm going to talk about, they both had miscommunication tropes. And I just felt like I just felt like the miscommunication trope in this was just unnecessary. Now, in Secretly Yours, the whole thing is like Hallie is writing Julian secret admirer letters and doesn't. And then when they start to forge a relationship, she never tells him, which is where the miscommunication trope comes in. It's very weird. But I really liked this book. It was fun. It kept me gripped. It is is it dual point of view? I don't remember. But I did really enjoy this book. I give it 4.5 stars. Okay. I will be continuing the series because the next book follows Hallie's sister, I believe, and I want to know, you know what I mean? Not Hallie's sister, Julian's sister, and I needed more of Julian's sister. Like, I loved her, I loved her. So I will be continuing this series. Yes, Finding Me was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. The next book that I have is another romance. So because both of these books were read during Rom-Comathon, they were the only 2 books that I managed to get done during Rom-Comathon, and that's fine because, again, book hangover. This is the Love Light Farms book 2 in the series, and that is In the Weeds. This is following, let me check because I don't remember anyone's names. So this is following Beckett, who we meet in the first book, which is just called Love Light Farms. We're following Beckett and Evelyn, or Evie, in this book. I was super excited for this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I actually liked this book more than I like Love Light Farms, but it's mostly because I liked the relationship between Beckett and Evie more than I liked the relationship between Stella and whatever his name was. I don't remember the man's name right now, but the main female character, like the person we're following in Love Light Farms, is Stella. And I just preferred this relationship better. Again, there was a unnecessary miscommunication trope that I did not love. I did not love it. Okay, because you could have just said where you were going, but that's besides the point. I still give it 4.5 stars. Really loved it. It was a fun read. And this is actually the book that pulled me out of my book hangover and made it so I could read for the rest of the month. We only have a few more books left, guys. I know you're holding on. So 4.5 stars. I will be also continuing this series as well. The next book that I have is After I Do. I don't really have a lot to say about this book, guys. Okay, I gave it 2 stars. I know this is going to upset some people that really do love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Honestly, I also really love Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I only gave it 2 stars, and I'm going to tell you why. I ended up getting the audio for this off of Scribd. This is one of Taylor Jenkins Reid's very first book. This was voted on for a book club. Actually, I think this is the second book because the only other book that's on the inside where it says like also written by is Forever Interrupted. So this book came out in 2014. I've had this on my shelf for like a year. This book has a 4.99 rating on Goodreads. Let's talk about it. I talked about this on Sprints when I had Sprints with Leandra last week because I finished it. And I didn't like people in this book. I did not like either of the main characters. Hello, Kiana. Hello. I don't think I have heard of that TJR book, and she is so beloved on YouTube. Yes, she is. So this is the second novel that she ever wrote. I'm going to explain this in a little bit because I have a couple of other Taylor Jenkins Reid's books in this pile. I only have 3 more books after this, but I do have a couple more. I'm sorry, I have 4 more books after this. I do have a couple of TJR books in this pile that I did actually really enjoy. This just was not one. So this is for a book club that I run in the Hustle Sanely community. If you don't know what that is, it is an online community that is run and really created and established by Jessica Massey. She has a Hustle Sanely podcast that you can listen to for free. I'll be talking about that here in a moment because it's one of the things that I listened to in February. But the Hustle Sanely BFFs is actually like a membership that you do, but I volunteered myself last year to run a fiction book club, and this is the book that everyone voted on as our February-March book. So our live show is March 8th. I did not like this. I just did not feel like there was good character development in this book. The characters stop. Go sit down and stop smacking your lips, please. The characters in this were okay. So go sit down, but chew with your mouth closed, please. Yes. Thank you. There you go. Thank you so much. Go sit down. Go sit down and eat.
I thought you were going to have a pizza night. But instead you wanted to order food.
Okay, we can do a pizza party or something tomorrow if you want. Okay? There's still pizza in the fridge, so it's not like
I know what you have in the pizza. I thought we were at a pizza party, but I actually told you that I wanted these. So then you.
Well, if you eat your mac and cheese, we'll have a pizza party before I go to work tomorrow for lunch. Okay? Okay? Sound good? Okay. This book tomorrow. I liked the family, like Lauren. So this follows Lauren and Ryan. They're taking a year off of their marriage, which is fine. That's acceptable. But some of the things that the two of them do during this year off of their marriage, not acceptable, not nice, not good. And I honestly liked Lauren's family more than I liked Lauren or Ryan in this book. So that's all I really have to say about that. I gave this 2 stars. It was not a great read for me. The next book that we have is We Sold Our Souls. This is by Grady Hendrix. Again, this is one of his first books, I think. It came out in 2018. Yeah, so this was like the 4th book that he ever wrote. Apparently, I'm the only person that liked this book. So this was Reni's pick for... I don't know if I could eat, sleep, or... I mean, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? I feel you. But that's what that is. That's what that synopsis is. So this was Reni's pick for team book for the Battle of the Boy Bands readathon from February. I'm pretty sure I'm the only person that liked this book. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I did listen to it via audio. Obviously I did also grab the like physical book just because I do really want all of Grady Hendrix books. I didn't know that this book came with sprayed edges. How cool is that? With the black sprayed edges. But this book follows our main character, Chris Pulaski. And every morning she wakes up in hell. She was the lead guitarist, I believe. Yeah, she was a lead guitarist of a 90s metal band called Dirtwork. And then their lead singer, Terry, embarked on a solo career and rocketed to stardom and left all of them behind. Essentially, he sold their souls to the devil. Yeah. So basically their souls were sold to the devil. There were a lot of like 90s and early 2000s references in this book. Apparently I'm the only one that really picked up on that. I know Brittany gave this 2 stars. I know Reni gave it 1 star but said that 1 star was generous. She gave it 0 stars. I personally, so here's the thing, I love Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is an auto-buy author for me at this point. I have loved every book by him that I have read. So like no book by him has gotten less than a 4 star from me. I love Grady Hendrix, but he writes horror. So I understood why Brittany didn't like this book. I don't know really. Reni just said that it was awful. So I don't know if she just didn't care. It does go from one thing to like an extreme, like conspiracies and all that. But I personally love conspiracies. I think that they're so, even if I don't believe them, like they're just fascinating to me. So if you like horror, you like crazy, like conspiracy theory type stuff, I would suggest this book. I loved this book. That's all that I have to say about it. Yeah, I don't know. I liked the premise of this book, and then I did listen to audio, and I was like, I love everything about this book. Like, I love it. I will be rereading this at some point to annotate, just because there is stuff in here that I would like to mark up. And I honestly don't love this particular cover. I actually prefer the paperback cover more, but because the other Grady Hendrix book, which is How to Sell a Haunted House, which is his most recent one, is hardcover, I don't want to have like mixed covers. But I mean, this cover is growing on me, if I'm gonna be honest. But I wanted hardcovers of all of his books, so that's why we got this cover instead of the purple cover with the bloody guitar pick. Almost Done with Southern Book Club. I hope that you are enjoying it. I really do. I gave that one 5 stars as well. I know Reni didn't love it as much. I think Reni has just decided that Grady Hendrix is not an author for her, which he's not an author for everyone. He's kind of like Riley Sager, like you either love him or you don't. Like there doesn't really seem to be an in between. Yeah, the cover is cool. And then when I got it and realized that the edges were sprayed, I was like, you know what? It's fine.
Hello.
Yeah, I like the paperback as well. I might actually buy the paperback once I get my new bookshelves in here, which I'll have new bookshelves in like a week. But when I get my new bookshelves in here, I may buy the other cover so that I can display it. But the hardcover on this is really cool. Like it has it's backwards, but these are all of like the titles of their songs. So I kind of want to display it, and then it has the cool writing on here as well. So I kind of want to display this one as well, just as like a black book. And I have so many books that have black covers. Like I don't know how that happened. All right, the next one that I read is the next two books are also going to be team books. I will talk about the DNFs at the end. I'm sorry, this is running a little bit longer than I thought it would, but that's okay. Hopefully I can keep this under 2 hours. So this is Malibu Rising. This was my pick for the book ends. It will be 4 or 5 stars depending on the ending. Wonderful. She's talking about Southern Book Club's guide. So this was my pick for boy bands read-a-thon. And I had not read this book yet. I had read at the time, the only book in this particular universe that I had read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So this is Malibu Rising. This ties into The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've been told it also ties into Daisy Jones and the Six. And then it also ties into Carrie Soto is Back. Okay, so it ties in all of that. This book, I loved this book. I need y'all to be aware, though, that this does have parent death, like the death of a parent in it. I didn't know that going into this. So it kind of punched me in the face, like at work. Like I was crying at work. But I loved this book. We follow Nina Riva, who her father is in Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Just so you're aware. So that's the tie-in here. So we follow Nina and her 3 siblings. Yes, so there's 4 siblings. I don't know why I kept saying there were 5. There are 4 siblings, so we follow Nina and her 3 siblings. She has 2 brothers, Jay and Hud. One is a championship surfer, and the other is a photographer. And then their little sister Kit, who kind of is all of the great things of the other 3 siblings rolled up into one. They all are surfers. They all enjoy surfing. They talk about how they came to love surfing. This book was wonderful. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved this book. I just loved it. Also, I hated Carrie Soto is in this book. Like, she's an integral part of this book. And I didn't love her character until the end. There's something that happens in the end, and I was just like, okay. So I'm really excited to now read Carrie Soto. I probably will be getting it in paperback because every other Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I own is in paperback. So 5 stars for this one. I highly recommend it. Then I read Daisy Jones and the Six. This was the book for Crystal's team read, and I loved this book. I gave this 4.75 stars. There was a part in this towards the middle that kind of just like lagged on for me. I will be rereading this I own the audio now. I bought it off Audible. Okay, because everywhere for like the library and stuff, because this show premiered today, like I will be actually watching it when I get off of here. Everyone's trying to read it. You know what I'm saying? So my hold for the audio was like weeks and weeks out. So I just bought the audio. The audio is really, really good. I personally love the way that this book is written. It is written, I don't know if you can see it on screen or not, but it is written in interviews. So everybody changes. So it'll go from like one person to the next person to the next person in this book. And that's how the whole book is written. It's not one point of view. It's just snippets from every person that you're going to meet throughout this story. So this follows Daisy Jones and the Six. But the Six is actually a band on its own before they meet Daisy Jones. And then she just kind of becomes part of the band. And it's that whole adventure. I will give trigger warnings for I don't remember if there's death of a parent in this one, but there is heavy drug use. I think there is death of a parent. So I'm going to give a trigger warning for death of a parent and also heavy drug use and also struggles in recovery and also cheating. There is that. So I will give trigger warnings for that. I personally love this book. I think I would have given it the same rating even if I had read it physically, but because I needed to read like 4 days or 4 books in like 3 days, I ended up just getting the audio. And the audio was great. It's a full cast. It's really wonderful. So there's that one. And then the last book of the month, and then we will jump into a couple of other things before I get off of here, is a KU dark romance, and that is Bonded by Thorns. This is a smut retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It is the first book in the Beast of the Briar series. The second book is not yet out. I don't remember when it comes out, to be honest with you. I could look it up for you if anybody really needs to know. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. There it is reverse harem, but there is also male stuff in it. So if that's not your cup of tea, I guess I actually already made this one. If that's not your personal cup of tea, I would maybe not do it. I knew that there would be some male romance. But I didn't expect it the way that it came about, because it was very much like in your face. Like that just is what it is. So yes. Loved it. 5 stars. I will be continuing this series. There's not really a lot for me to tell you other than that it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like, it really does follow Beauty and the Beast very closely, other than that it's fae princes instead of a human, and also male romance. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, to be honest. So let's jump into my DNFs. The first book that I DNF'd for, I ended up DNFing 3 books. So I DNF'd Burn Down, Rise Up. This was another book that I found via that list that had Dear Martin on it. It intrigued me because it said that it was like a cross between what was the wording that they gave? It was a,
where does it say AC's mom's name? Right here?
Yes.
Look. Her phone number.
Yeah.
Look, all these numbers.
Here, give me that, because I have to call her next week. It's not all her number. Okay, sit down, please. It said that it was Stranger Things meets Jordan Peele, like Jordan Peele movie, and I was intrigued by that. But to be honest with you, I had no idea what was happening. I ended up DNFing it. I don't know. Okay, someone tell me this isn't a copy of Almost Famous. No. Now we can watch it. Yeah, I'm ready to watch it. I know Daisy is in the band and not a follower of a band, but still. No, I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say that it's a copy of Almost Famous. I would actually, this is closer to like the story of Stevie Nicks, if I'm going to be honest with you. Daisy Jones gives me Stevie Nicks vibes. So if you like Stevie Nicks, I think you would like this book. Maybe not Almost Famous though. I don't think. So Burn Down, Rise Up. So in New York, the Bronx in New York is plagued by disappearances and is basically being done by something that's inside of the tunnels, like the train tunnels. I don't know. I couldn't follow what was happening, so I DNF'd it. Because I wanted to like this book, and I didn't. I just didn't understand anything that was going on, if I'm going to be really honest. So the next book that I technically DNF'd, but I didn't count it as a DNF, which I think the reason I didn't is because I didn't make it very far before I decided that I wasn't going to continue, was the second book in the Dear Martin series, which is called Dear Justice. I'm not saying for people to not read this. I just didn't personally need the story of the character that we're following. Dear Justice was not a book that was originally planned to be written after Dear Martin. She does write an author's note saying that Dear Justice was written because Black children that grew up in the projects wanted a story that was closer to their story. Dear Martin, while it is some children's experience, was not a lot of their experience, and they wanted a book written from a character that was closer to their own experience. So she wrote Dear Justice. This book follows Justice's best friend's cousin, who is in jail and about to go to prison for the murder of a cop. It is actually the cop that ends up arresting Justice. It's not connected other than that. And it's him writing letters to Justice while he's in jail. I just didn't connect to this particular character very much. Daisy inspired by Fleetwood Mac. Yes. And Stevie Nicks. Yes. I just didn't connect to this specific character. I would suggest it to someone who may have a deeper connection to the character that is written about. That just wasn't me, and I think that's actually why I didn't include it. Yeah, I think that's why I didn't include it in the DNFs, is because for me it wasn't really a true DNF. It was just that I didn't really care about this character. Not even that I didn't care, I just didn't relate to the character, so I just decided to put it down. But I thought that I should mention it, even though it's not counted on Storygraph. You won't find it on Storygraph in my DNFs. Comes from a very shallow assessment of the TV visual, and the visual for the movie Almost Famous. It looks so similar. Yeah, I definitely would say Fleetwood Mac or Stevie Nicks vibes. Not so much Almost Famous. No, that's perfectly fine. Honestly, I love Daisy Jones and the Six, so it's totally fine. Honestly, we can talk about any books that I've already mentioned, so it's totally fine. Okay, and then the last book that I DNF'd, which I have not put up on Storygraph yet, because technically this rolled over into March, and it will be in a vlog that's going up tomorrow. But that is This Lovely City. This was Brittany's pick for the boy bands, and I was bored. I'm gonna be honest. And I asked Brittany, because the vlog that goes up tomorrow is a collab between me and Brittany, and we are reading all of the group books from the readathon. I think the only one she didn't read was Malibu Rising, and that's because she's read it before. I'm not a historical fiction girly. I'm just not. And I didn't. If this book had an audiobook, I think I would have stuck it out and tried to continue reading it. I asked Brittany before I DNF'd it if it was okay for me to soft DNF this. Again, it's a soft DNF, so I don't know that I'm going to put it in my DNF section, because I think this is a book that I'm going to pick up later and just give myself the time that I need to read this. I just found myself being bored trying to rush through it. And I think that was my mess up there, was that I waited till the end of the month to try to do this, and I shouldn't have done that. So I will be trying to pick this back up, because I want to know about the characters. I just was bored. So that is it as far as actual books. I'll go over really quick what I listened to in February. It's all podcasts. You're welcome. So the first podcast I listened to this basically every month, was Crime Junkie. I only listen to the free version of this. I do not subscribe to their Patreon any longer due to...
Can I tell them I give a 100 stars with this?
Sure, Ari. Go ahead. I'll just turn you. Go ahead.
I
That's Junie B. Jones.
Okay. I am 5 stars of this book and 1,100,000 stars.
1,100,000 stars.
Yep, and also 2 stars, and also 1 star, and also 3 stars, and also 4 stars.
All the stars?
Yeah, just all the stars.
Okay, thank you.
Mom,
ML said, "Yay, Ari reading wrap up. Here, you can pick. Do you? Oh, it's not quite over yet.
It's almost over.
Okay, and then do you? Okay, and then ML said that she liked your reading wrap up, Ari. Can you say?
I'm gonna hug that computer.
Please do not climb up here. I got all these books up here.
I wanna hug it.
You just say that you love ML. I'll let you send a voice message in a little bit.
I love you, ML.
Okay.
Can you tell Ollie to do a watch party with me when we get on Harry Potter?
I'll see. I don't know if I can do one through Peacock. Go sit down. Thank you. Okay, so Crime Junkie. I only listened to the free version of this. I've talked about this before. They had a plagiarism scandal in 2019 that they never actually addressed. So I do not subscribe to their Patreon. So ML said that she loves you too, Ari. So I don't actually know. Here, Ariana. Here. And then give me the remote back when you're done. And then you need to lay down, please. I do not actually know. I don't actually know what is on the Patreon at this point because I don't subscribe to it. So sorry. So Crime Junkie, I do listen to that. I won't say I listen to it every week, but like I am caught up as of right now. So that was the first one. The second one that I listen to is the Dateline podcast. This one, I'm basically just playing catch up. So I'm listening to everything. Basically what they've done is they've taken episodes of Dateline and just put it into and just extracted the audio. This makes it so that I can consume Dateline without actually having to watch TV, which is cool. But obviously, you're not going to get visuals and things like that you would usually get from the TV show. I should have said that most of these are true crime. So sorry for that. The next one that I listened to is True Crime with Kendall Ray. This one you can watch via no ma'am, back down to 2-0. Thank you. This one is with YouTuber Kendall Ray. She also she just extracts her audio from her videos because she definitely says welcome back to my channel at the beginning of every episode, but this is just her talking about true crime. She tends to also have interviews with fine, sit down, but we're not watching this all night, just so you know. I have a show I need to watch. She does tend to get interviews with parents or siblings or people that are close to the victims of the cases that she covers. Highly recommend. The next one that I listened to was Murder and Mystery Analysis by Dr. Phil. This is Dr. Phil's true crime podcast. I really enjoy this. He tends to make multiple episode series. So like he did Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. I think that's like a 3-part thing. If you don't like Dr. Phil, I would still suggest this one because it's kind of a different vibe than like what we think of as normal Dr. Phil. I also listened to The Deck. This is also hosted by Ashley Flowers, who does Crime Junkie. It's fine. I don't listen to this one every week. I think as of right now, I am caught up. It's not my favorite podcast, but it's interesting if I need something to listen to. The next one that I have is Behind You. This is a podcast hosted by Haley Elizabeth. She is also a YouTuber. You can access the Behind You podcast on YouTube. Also, I think she uploads to YouTube on Tuesdays and to the podcast feed on Fridays. It's the same case either way. So I just prefer to listen that way. The next one that I have is Killer Instinct with Savannah Brimer. It's exactly what it sounds like. She covers a lot of, it's all true crime. So she's a newer podcast that I found. And then I listened to Moms and Mysteries. This podcast used to be called Moms and Murder. I don't know when I'm very far behind on this, just so everyone knows. So I don't know when the name change occurred because I'm like a year behind on episodes. But I found this podcast when it was originally Moms and Murder. They are based out of Orlando, Florida. So, and I actually found it while I lived in Florida. I really love this. This is a very clean podcast. They don't tend to go into a lot of details, like gruesome details, because they want it to be a podcast that you can listen to around your kids and their moms. So there's a lot of mom humor in this podcast. So I don't know that everyone would love it. But I personally really, really like it. And then in January, so that was all of February, I'm sorry. In January, I listened to the podcast Thrive Like a Parent. This is hosted by Dr. Brooke Weinstein. I follow her on Instagram and I have for probably 3 or 4 months. So this podcast is specifically for parents, obviously, but she doesn't do Thrive. She decided to do the Thrive Like a Parent podcast. I think she has a course. It's called Thrive Like a Mother, but she wanted the podcast to be accessible to everyone. So she talks to parents of any kind, foster parents, fathers, mothers, whatever. And it's really good. It's definitely a podcast that I will listen to when I'm having a hard parent day. It's really, really good. And then the last one that I have for you is the Hustle Sanely podcast, which is hosted by Jessica Massey. This is a self-development podcast. She teaches you how to be peacefully productive, basically how to unlearn hustle culture. That's basically what it is. She teaches you how to unlearn hustle culture. I've been following Jessica Massey. I've been following Jess since 2018, I think. I don't know. I've been following her since she was doing SLP stuff, speech language pathology, which she ended up dropping out of doing her master's degree, I believe, to pursue Hustle Sanely full time. She also was a personal trainer in the past. I didn't follow her that far back when she was doing Glisten Fit, but I did follow her SLP journey when she was like all over on YouTube and stuff like that. So, yeah, she was also like a big resource that I used when I got into digital planning. So I highly recommend that, even if you don't want to be part of like the paid subscription, like the paid membership, or you don't want to buy like the digital planners and stuff that she offers. She does offer paper products, but she won't have more of those until 2024. She sold out of all of the ones for 2023. And yeah, that's basically all that I have. I really didn't watch any shows this month, honestly. So if I watch shows in March and April, I will definitely keep track of what I've watched. I obviously will be watching Daisy Jones and the Six, and I'll also be finishing Ginny and Georgia and watching the second season of You. So you'll at least get those and my thoughts on those. And great because I only have so much time to do it with my earballs and devote it all to audiobooks, but I'm interested in so many podcasts. Truthfully, ML, I don't know why you couldn't. To be honest with you, I watched podcasts before I really got into audio. So there's that, if that's helpful. Yeah, if that's helpful really at all. I was into podcasts before I got into audio. So I don't know why you couldn't listen to them. I definitely listen to podcasts while I do things that I would usually be doing while doing audiobooks. So that is really all that I have. I'm going to jump over onto Amy's sprints for a little while, because it appears that she's still going, I think. I'm trying to see. Yeah, it looks like they're still going. So I'm going to jump over there and be on camera with them for a little bit. So if you guys need sprints, I got you. Yeah. If you're prioritizing books, then that's understandable. I tend to go back and forth between both. Like I can easily listen to podcasts if I'm at work, and sometimes I can't necessarily listen to whatever audiobook I'm listening to at work. So Would just always love more free time. Wouldn't we all, ML? So that pretty much wraps everything up. I'm gonna jump over onto Amy's sprints. Yeah, but I just sent a comment to see if they're still going. I think they are, but I'm going to try to jump over there. So if you guys need sprints, come on over to Amy's channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this wrap up. Let me know. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put up a poll. I'll put up a poll after this live, and you guys can vote and let me know if you prefer me to do wrap ups this way where I do them live, or if you would prefer me to start doing the vlog style. I was going to start doing vlog style for January and February, and I kind of failed at it, but I would like to try the vlog style for March and April, but only if it's something that you guys would like. If you prefer wrap ups this way, please let me know. Over on Amy's channel, give me 1 second and I will send the link. Let me put the link in here. Okay. Oh, that's not it. No. Hold on. Do not click that link. That's not the link. Hold on, friends. Please hold. Here we go. All right, give me 1 second because that's. You guys don't need that at all. Okay, give me a second. All right, here is the link to Amy's sprinty sprints. So if you need sprints, hop over there. She's doing sprints right now. Brittany is on there as well. Love the lives. This is the first one I joined, but I love them. Okay, so lives. Okay, so I can keep doing them live. That's totally fine. They will be bi-monthly, unless you guys want them more often than that. I don't know. Let me know. That's what I'll do. I'll put up a poll asking if you guys would prefer a live wrap up bi-monthly, a vlog wrap up bi-monthly, a live monthly, or a vlog monthly. We'll do it that way. Actually, if I do the vlogs, it will be bi-monthly. If I do lives, I could do them monthly or bi-monthly. They're just going to be longer if they're bi-monthly. So that's all that I really have for y'all today. Thank you again so much for hanging out with me on this wrap up. I thought that it was super fun. I am going to be trying to figure out how to show you guys my setup for March in my book journal, like how I set it up. It is set up and like I have things written in, but I just want to show like how I utilize my book journal every month, and that's really all that I have. So next time that I have sprints, I'm gonna go over to Amy's sprints here in a second, but other than that, sprints on my channel will take place on next Thursday. I believe they're Bessie's book club sprints, and then we also will have my 24-hour sprints will be at the end of the month. So they will be on the 31st and into the 1st of April this time, because Ari has a birthday party the weekend that I was going to do the sprints, and I don't want her to miss the birthday party for sprints. So that is all that I have. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And there will be a new vlog up tomorrow. It is the collaboration vlog that I'm doing with Brittany. And other than that, that's it. So, no, I'll show you what AC's birthday is on a calendar. So 2 weeks, Ari, 2 weeks. So I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.